What's up, folks? Welcome back to the stream. It's Tuesday, we're getting tactical, and I forgot to turn my music on. Let's get that going. Get grooving in here. How is it going, everybody? Happy Tuesday. It is Post-Dataslate day, and that is what we're going to be primarily focusing on today. We're going to do some digging into some competitive results and try to peek at some lists that we could potentially be seeing do well in the upcoming Post-Dataslate season for the next quarter, and I'm psyched about it. I think that, well, the Dataslate, I don't know, it could have been better. There are some parts of it that I'm a little miffed with, but I think generally speaking, it did a good job of just taking the whole metagame and just compressing it, just pressing it into a little cube of factions that are basically, I think, you know, getting closer and closer and closer to a similar power level. Certainly, there is going to be some variation between them, but I think that the bottom factions now have much greater chance to beat the top factions. The top factions don't just automatically win games all the time now, and I think it's going to be a lot better. So I'm psyched, and I think it's going to be good. As a little bit of a note as well, I do have a fan on next to me, so let me know if that is picking up on the microphone. People said on stream on Twitch the other day that it did not pick up on the microphone, but I have a new, basically, I got a new AC unit for my apartment because it does get very warm in here sometimes, and that makes content a little tough, but should be nice now. It's nice, and it's not nice, a breezy, like 65 degrees or something, which is very good. How's it going, everybody in chats? Imperial Knights go Armiger spam now. I think there's a potential. I think that Imperial Knights lists basically look like the 9th edition Imperial Knights lists. I think it's like identical. They basically just turn into, they revert themselves one edition back, where it's like you got the one like Warden, and you've got like maybe one other knight, and then they're just like mythic heroing Armigers. I feel like that's basically how it's going. But man, did that faction get yeeted into the sun, basically. Sounds good? All right, hell yeah. Eldar still 65% over the weekend. Yeah, so I think there's a couple things to take away from this weekend. And I believe I talked about it in my video yesterday. I also have a tier list video coming out tomorrow, which should also probably reiterate some of these points. But I do think that Eldar are probably going to see a little bit of... they're going to continue to do well for a little while because they didn't really change mechanically, right? Like, they're not taking Wraith Knights anymore, but you're still taking Wraith Guard, which are like Wraith Knights but shorter. All the same units are being played. So like people who had an Eldar army and who are competitive with Eldar are just going to continue to be competitive with Eldar. Whereas like Tau, right, is like very strong going into the new season. But you're going to have to like reorient how you play Tau because a lot of the lists are going to change. I think looking at like, you know, one weekend of RTTs and a couple of events and trying to glean all the win rates from that is going to be tough because Eldar, like, they have a momentum going, if that makes sense, where people are just going to continue to play with them for a little while, and the other factions who are probably pretty good and can compete with them are going to take a little bit of unlocking. We'll see if that ends up holding true. I sure hope that Eldar don't like just go back to 70%. I thought it was weird. I don't know. I think it's weird that Eldar sort of got nerfed in line with other factions, but like it felt like a very pointed attempt to keep them at the top of the game, which is an odd decision on GW's part. I also don't like some of the core mechanic changes as well. I don't like the stratagem changes. The towering changes were great, but the stratagems, free stratagems, and duplicated stratagems, I thought not only unlocked, a lot of factions were kind of built around them, and then also it created some really interesting play and counterplay. Like, do I use a stratagem? It could get vected now. I could eat the extra damage this activation and save it for when the stratagem becomes better, and then I get like one use and then one more expensive use out of it later on in the game, rather than sort of turning it off for myself now. And then your opponent's like, oh, I have to try to play around this duplicated stratagem by changing my targeting priority, and then just like basically axing both those mechanics. I think makes the counterplay of the game like way more boring, which I don't know. I don't love, but it is what it is. Someone on the design team is definitely pro Eldar. Yeah, that does sort of feel like it. Ricochet picked up 2 Sky Rays. Hell yeah. Sky Rays are sweet now. They're so much cheaper. Where can you find the Grand Tournament Leviathan rules? There are no Grand tournament rules, it's the Leviathan Play Packet, which is the little card. I think it came in Leviathan Kit, I believe, and then it also came in the index cards. Did they never re-release the index cards? They just pulled them? That's not great. So it might just be the Leviathan box set, honestly, if you can't buy the cards box. But there is a PDF online. I probably should like post it in my Discord or something. There is a PDF that has all the rules in it. If you want to reference it, somebody just transcribed them from the card set. All right, chat. Let's go ahead and dive into this over here. So what I've gone through and I've identified a bunch of events that we're gonna dig into some smaller events, I think, today. Not just talk about GTs, but also jump into RTTs and stuff like that. Some smaller events that used the new data slate. And what I think I'm actually gonna do oh dang, my search gets reset if I do that. I think before we do that, there are some good results from some off factions that we should talk about. So Smite Club Open 2023 was the big one from this weekend. It was a major level, I think, 103 players, yeah, so just above a major. Eldar, number 1 and number 2, what a shocker. Pre-data slate, incredible, what a time. Daniel Olivas went a perfect 600. What a skillful player who is so good at 40k. And probably just like whipped his big dick Wraith Knight on the table. Oh, no, it was a Wraith Guard unit, so he's ready to play post-data slate. What a time. Definitely pure skill to do that with Eldar. But Jason McKenzie over here, something that does actually take pure skill, going 5-1 with Adeptus Mechanicus, pre-data slate, no points cut Adeptus Mechanicus, old Skitarii Adeptus Mechanicus, got very good results, dropped one game down to 9. And yeah, so this list, I mean, you could just play this list with an extra bunch of points, basically, right? And it's like MSU Adeptus Mechanicus. It's not even Breacher spam. Oh, there's 2 units of Breachers. 1 Destroyer, 1 Breacher. But it's not max Breachers. Iron Strider Bellastari in big numbers. Dude, this list is nuts. So it's Belisarius Call, who is kind of a Chad. He named all of his characters. That's great. So we have a Skitarii Marshal. I don't know what this is. A Dominus, I guess? I guess these are supposed to be Tech Priest Domini. And then, yeah, so two Domini and then 1 Engineer. One with the Omni Sterilizer, which I believe is the Devastating Wound Weapon. It's Anti-Infantry 2, Devastating for 2 damage. Which is, I played against the other day and was extremely strong. Let's take a quick look at his data sheet over here. Yeah, so here's the enhancement. So it gives his Flamer 3 attacks, Anti-Infantry 2, Anti-Monster 4. And then the dude himself, which is the Tech Priest Dominus, is over here. Why can't I find him? There he is. The dude himself takes the Volkite Blaster. So he's 6 shots. I guess it's not a Flamer. He actually has to roll to hit. 6 shots, Anti-Infantry 2, so it auto-generates 2 Devastating Wounds on a 2+, and then does that on a 4+ against monsters. So you're probably hit 4 times. I guess you could put him into a Breacher unit or something that gets... These guys join Breachers, right? Yeah, that gets rerolls if they're next to Skitarii. So it's 6 shots, rerolling hit rolls, and then auto-wounding on 2s for 2 mortals. Now, obviously, a little bit worse now that the 2 mortals don't kill 4 infantry. The Devastating Wounds don't kill 2 infantry apiece. But you're probably still generating, what is that, like 4 sets of 2 damage Devastating Wounds onto a target. So you're good into like basically most of the heavy infantry in the game because you kill like 2 or 3 models with that. Absolutely sick weapon combination. That's super strong. And then we have 1 Vanguard unit to turn on the battle line synergies. Just 1. That's not a lot. But then 9 Iron Strider Battlestar, excuse me. 3 into 3 with Cognus Las Cannons. Just going for that high volume anti-tank shooting. The big Cataphront Breacher squad with arc rifles. A Cataphront Destroyer squad with grab cannons. A lot of anti-vehicle there. 2 units of Tyraxi Sky Stalkers. These guys are, I believe, have the shoot and scoot ability. They have, yeah. So they trade having a good gun for being able to shoot after deep striking, or move after deep striking, excuse me. So they can jump in. They have like the 5-shot little pistol weapon. It's not that exciting, but then they move 6 inches. 12 inches if they go near a battle line unit. So they can shoot and then jump back to the battle line unit, or they can jump onto objectives or like into table quarters and stuff. They're basically like kind of crappy gargoyles, but, you know, it's still, a crappy gargoyle is still pretty good. And I guess like, oops, that's not what I wanted to look at. They just have Flesh Hit Blasters, I guess. Oh no, the Skystalker Alpha has the melee weapon. Everybody else has the carbine. So I guess it's 6 shots at 18 inches, which is okay. And then the other dude has an okay melee weapon, but that's not even that good. 601 is okay. It's a high volume, so I guess they're good. They're like solid anti-horde. But generally, for 70 points, a very good utility unit. Cerberus Self-Hounds, again, another unit that's like sort of anti-infantry, and then utility. Zakarian Infiltrators for forward deploy, and then we have 2 exaction squads. So just like mass infantry units to score secondaries. Super cool list, and scored very highly. That one's very different than I think the other list that we've seen, and that's very impressive. The Manipulus has the Flamer. Oh, okay. So we took it on a Dominus, but the Manipulus is better. Oh, yeah, you're right, chat. If you do it on the Manipulus, he gets a Torrent. That's the Flamer one. Okay. So I guess it's probably like 6 of one, half a dozen the other, right? It's either you shoot 6 times but have to roll to hit, or you shoot D6 times but hit automatically. So... like, the expected damage is most likely the same between the Manipulus and the Dominus in that. I guess, hilariously, this one gets lethal, which is actually really bad for it. But it doesn't matter because it's a Flamer. It doesn't get lethal. Solid. Cool. All right, chat. Anytime anyone anywhere goes 600, that should be enough to nerf the army. I wouldn't say that necessarily. There are some factions who can go 600, but you would not in any situation would you say are as broken as Eldar. I think it's when multiple people do it, and it's like consistently they go 600. Like generally speaking, these big majors and these super major events, almost every time the top person is has dropped 6 points over the course of the event and gone undefeated, and it's like. All right, clearly we have a problem. But if it happens, every once in a while, there are some factions that have good matchups, and they'll get a good string of matchups, or they go well going first, or they just score highly and didn't play against people who are able to compete with them on scoring. You know, like Orcs, right? You wouldn't say Orcs is a super busted army. I think they're very good now, but I don't think they're broken. And there's a lot of situations where Orcs are just 100 point all of their games, just because they're I went first and put everything in the middle of the table and then WAD and was ever on every objective in every table quarter and got all the good tacticals. But you know. You can go 600 with an Orc army, and I don't think anyone would say that faction's too strong. All right, Chance. The GT is just 2 teams. Yeah, it's 3, right? It is, to be fair, it is the Smite Club Open, so having a Smite Club do well kind of makes sense. It's thematically appropriate. But then Team Zero Comp down here just nailing it. Look at all that. Team Zero Comp, more like Team... we go X and 1 with every single player. Okay, let's jump into some post-Dataslate stuff, chats. We got some very exciting lists to talk about. We got some Adeptus Sororitas over here. We got some Tyranids over here. We got some Leagues of Votann. If nothing, sort of indicates a shakeup, that isn't Leagues of Votann going undefeated and Adeptus Sororitas going undefeated. I don't know what else is. And this is kind of why I love 3-round 40k. In my opinion, RTT 3-round 40k is sort of the it's kind of like the quintessential Warhammer 40k experience. It is, you get like such a broader selection of factions in the competition, and it encompasses a much greater proportion, I think, of the 40k community. Because if you think about it, there's probably like between, I don't know, like 50 and 80 RTTs a weekend or something, and each one of those probably averages like 12 players. So you're looking at like 1,000 people playing RTTs every weekend, whereas GTs and majors, it's only a couple hundred. So like so many more people participate in RTTs. That it's like such a greater proportion of the competitive scene, and you get these like really interesting and cool matchups because you don't have the opportunity necessarily to get bopped by the super strong armies, which I think is cool. They do seem to be balancing for RTTs. Oh, I think like balancing is balancing. If you wanted to balance for RTTs, like, I think everyone would be kind of like an all-rounder, because your specific matchups matter more, rather than consistency. I don't know. I don't know what you would do if you wanted specifically 3-round events to be, like, weighted more heavily than 5-round events. I'm not sure how that would change your outlook on a faction. I guess you would be, like, less worried about matchup-specific stuff. I have no idea. All right. Let's talk about some Adeptus Sororitas chat. Oh, no. This doesn't have a list. No! Jeffrey Kolodner, you have robbed us of the opportunity to look at your cool Adeptus Sororitas list. Get out of here. Garbage. All right, we can look at post-nerf Adeptus Custodies, I guess, instead. So we dropped down to 5 units of 5 Custodian Guards. This is post-nerf, right? These are post-nerf points values? Because Custodian Guards used to be 45 a model. I'm going to double check here. I guess we can look at... There's probably an easier list to look at. I always look at like flagpole units, where you look at, yeah, Necron Warriors at 11 and Crypto Thralls at 16. Yeah. There's data sheets that it's easy to remember the change points value of, and so you can look at specific lists that use that. That's usually how I do it. So 2 of 2 Alarius Custodians, still taking those guys. Triple Caladius Grav Tank. We're just all in on the big guys, which didn't go up in points, right? They were 215 to begin with, which certainly makes them a little bit more exciting. At least it wasn't an Eldar list called Sisters. Well, allegedly. If it was an Eldar list, I certainly would have been more angry than somebody not submitting their list, for sure. 1 Calidus, 1 Vindicare. So we're still on the Calidus Assassin, which is honestly probably fine. I think the Calidus Assassin getting a points break is kind of a huge deal, because its ability is less useful, but it is still probably one of the best utility units in the game. And even for 90 points, I think it's solid. Just because it can start on the table, do an action, hop up into reserve, jump back down the next turn, do another action. And you can just like constantly be jumping it around. It's also like always strikes first with a bunch of like strength 5 2 damage weapons. It will kill basically every other utility unit in the game. You can't charge this thing with Assault Intercessors and expect them to win. It will kill all of them easily. Yeah. So I think, honestly, just as like a combat model that scores points, the Calidus Assassin's still pretty good. And then the CP tax on a battle tactic is also pretty solid as well. Yeah, we're on Best Coast pairings today, chat. This is the best place to dig in if you want to do like look at the smaller events. Discount Games Inc. hosts like top undefeated lists for big events, but if you want to jump into the smaller ones, this is a good place to do it. It does require a subscription, though, to my knowledge. All right, there's some Necrons. I have a sneaking suspicion we'll have a lot of Necrons to talk about in the future. Let's see. What else we got? Got a Chaos Demons. Let's take a look at some... Oh, no lists! This one doesn't even have lists. You have an Eldar. Post-nerf Eldar. All of the interesting factions that we want to talk about did not submit lists. But the good ones did. That's funny. These folks are less worried about people stealing their secret technology. 90 points Vex plus a deep strike every turn is insane. Yeah, honestly, the value is like really there. You probably could have kept that thing at like 115 or whatever she was at, and she's probably still playable for sure. So it's interesting to see that the Incarn is clearly all of the Eldar lists that we've seen so far in this post-Dataslate environment have still run the Incarn. This is a unit that's so strong that like a 30, like it's a 28% or whatever, 25% points increase No, it's bigger than that. Yeah, it's almost 30%. It's very close. Like a 27% points increase did not change its playability, which is nuts. So like every Eldar list I've seen still runs the Incarn, still runs the Autarch Wayleaper. And the Autarch Wayleaper arguably is better because Eldar have very few battle tactic stratagems that you can CP tax. So it's just like become more efficient now. Not to mention the fact that the Autarch can play like you can more often save your Phantasm for the Autarch because it's only usable on the infantry anyway. And I think that's also why we're seeing like Illic Nightspear as a singleton, just as a lone operative duder who is targetable by Phantasm and can like screen and then run away. It's pretty solid. BCB sometimes lists unlisted factions Adeptus Sororitas. Yeah, actually what happens there, I believe, is that either you misclick Adeptus Sororitas because it's the easiest faction to hit in BCP when you're submitting your army, or a lot of times, and speaking as a TO, I do this too, BCP, at least the previous version, I don't know if it does it right now, but it requires every player to submit a faction, and if you haven't submitted your faction manually, it's like up to the TO to do it for you, and a lot of times, there's no like unlisted faction. So a lot of times they'll just like audible Adeptus Sororitas because it's the first one on the list. So for sure it could have not been a sisters list. But this being an RTT, like literally who knows? Everybody's up for grabs here. So double Hornets, double Night Spinners. Interesting, a lot of times we're seeing Fire Prisms sort of retained in these lists, which is really cool. I don't know if it's cool. The Fire Prisms are great. But it's interesting because they are now so expensive, and they're certainly less scary than like the indirect fire weapons or the smaller vehicles. Being, I think, probably less efficient. The fact that they can chain their attacks out into a single target without having to like get in each other's way is cool because they can shoot their lances through each other. But from an efficiency standpoint, I think the Warwalkers and the Night Spinners are probably scarier. This one's running double Warp Spiders, Swooping Hawks, double Warwalkers, double Night Spinners, double Hornets. So very focused. There's no infantry bricks. There's only utility and only light vehicles. So we've really shaved the fat off of this style list. And it seems like so far there's only two archetypes right now. There's basically this that is focusing very heavily on Warwalkers and double Warp Spiders. And then there's the list that takes most of that and turns it into a Wraith Guard brick. Which one's better? I don't know yet, but I'm more scared of the Wraith Guard brick for sure because I think it's the Phantasm on that thing is still so strong. Incarn just adds the opponent's mental load. Yeah, it also gives you a level of redundancy. So it's almost that you have less units in your army, which almost means that the Incarn's value increases because it lets you hold on to objectives that you would normally lose. Like oftentimes what happens is that you'll put one like a ranger or like a swooping hawk unit or something on an objective. Your opponent late in their shooting phase, or maybe they shoot it with indirect fire or something, will shoot that unit off the objective, and the Incarn just keeps the objective for you. And that happens so often and it just sort of shores up Eldar primary, that I think having less units gives you more incentive to take the Incarn even if it's more expensive. But it's also like just the ability to jump into your opponent's backline, and if you get the opportunity to just like hug a tank or something and prevent it from shooting for the rest of the game, that's just so deleterious to some matchups that it's just like worth taking anyway. Can't have any trash out on the table at turn 1 versus Eldar. 2 Night Spinners kill it, and then the Incarn pops in your deployment zone. Yeah. That definitely will happen. For sure. At least you can't have trash that's near your other stuff. If you have a unit like out in the middle of nowhere and the Incarn goes over there, you're like, okay, whatever. But if they like, if you're like, oh, I'm screening with this unit, and then they kill it and the Incarn shows up and then charges you, yeah, that's definitely can be game over sometimes. So I totally agree, for sure. And then none of these guys submitted lists. What the heck? So this one, we have some Tau to talk about. So these are obviously X1, so this is like a little bit random. But the just like we're seeing Death Guard get up on the table here, like so many Necrons, Astra Militarum. It's just so sweet. Take a look at Leagues of Votann today. A Brokir Ironmaster, an In Here champion, no upgrades in the In Here champion, and then Grim Demeanor on a call. What does Grim Demeanor do, chat? You get reroll battle shock checks, ignore characteristic modifiers to the bearer's unit, so both himself and everyone he's attached to, which is actually kind of sick, but the calls don't attach to much, right? They only attach to... Oh, they go into Hearthguard, actually, so that's probably fine. I bet we... Do we have a Hearthguard unit here? Yeah, there's a big Hearthguard unit for that to go into. That's actually really good. Okay, that's solid. So, Brokir Ironmaster, In Here Champion, 1 call. Okay, the call can't stack with the In Here Champion, right? They don't have that mechanic? No. So maybe the Champion goes into the Hearthguard unit. Gives reroll charges? He could also just be a super solo, because he's good at punching people. Is it normal to be a not to submitted list? I mean, it's questionable. Like, the smaller events, oftentimes people will just get away with it, and they'll bring the list in person, and they'll pass it to their opponent. Like, people are less judicious about it, I guess. They're less worried about it when people don't submit lists in BCP, but it definitely makes like the process easier for everyone when you do. But usually, like, GTs will be a stickler about it because it's important for them to be able to vet lists beforehand. RTTs, it doesn't really matter so much. So oftentimes they don't get submitted. It's always weird. I'm always a little wary of people who don't submit their lists in BCP to begin with, because sometimes they'll get over worried about someone counter-teching them, or they're like, sometimes it's harder to vet their list if they make a mistake in it or something. If they just like flash you a paper copy of their list before the game, but then they accidentally included like different war gear on their models or something, and then you just know what to tell. That can just happen sometimes accidentally. I'm always a little bit wary of that, but it is what it is. You should submit lists, but for RTTs, oftentimes they don't require it. Thoughts on the full Monster Lidzilla list, Invasion Fleet with double Norns. I don't know if I'm in on double Norns. I almost don't think I would ever play multiple Norn units, if I'm gonna be honest. The issue with the Norns is that they're just like so ludicrously expensive. I think it feels like a 0 to 1 for me. For like probably an emissary. You could maybe push an assimilator if you wanted the extra like the D6+1 shots, but the fact that it costs more and loses an invulnerable save is a little bit sad. But 2 of them is just like, they're so big, they take up so much real estate, they only really do like one thing, and it costs you 1/3 of your points. I don't think is really worth it. You should cut, instead of the second Norn, you should cut it into 2 Maleceptors, and that's way better. And they also synergize pretty well, because the Maleceptor can sit behind the Norn, or somewhere around it, and then enemies trying to charge it are going to be affected by the Maleceptor's aura, so it also compounds the survivability of the emissary. So I would take Maleceptors instead of the second Norn for sure. I don't think I would take 2. And I would even consider, if you have the extra points to play with, I would even consider a Hyrule over the second one as well, because it has a gun. You end up running into like significantly diminished returns on 2 of them, because they're just like, it's just 2 units that want to stand in the exact same place on the table. Double aren't worth it. Triple is the sauce? That feels like a traffic jam waiting to happen, to be honest. You do get to the point, I think, where things like opponents start to have trouble killing you. If you just present, like, you just play a Knights list, basically, and you present the profile where it's like, everyone is a T11 2+ save idiot, and, like, there are significant portions of the game that can't kill you, then probably there's something there, maybe, where you're like, I'm playing triple Norn, double Hyrule, let's go. But I don't know if I love that archetype. it might be fine. It's probably fine. You definitely win some games from this queue for sure. Does the game card become balanced at OC 0? If it's OC 0 and 350 points, maybe. That would be kind of an interesting place for it to stand. It's like, you could go here, but you don't hold objectives. It's less useful at OC 0. But I think, like, it being an objective holder that's, like, sort of annoying to deal with, I think is only part of the issue. The other issue is that it just blows up tanks with its sword. So if it's expensive and 0 OC, maybe it's balanced. But if it's like old cost and OC 0, you might just still play it anyway. All right. Let's see some Leagues of Votann lists. So we have only one Harlequin Warrior unit, 5 Sagitors, almost max Sagitors, 2 units of Chthonian Berserks. So those are filling up with 2 Sagitors, and then the Harlequin Warriors can fill up 2 more Sagitors. I guess you put the Brokir Iron Master in the 5th Sagittor so you can fill it up because they're dedicated transports and they're required to take units inside them. So he's probably the last inclusion. And then there's just 3 Hecaton land fortresses in the back. So I think that this list basically just got a free unit of Hearthguard in it from the previous incarnation. And then also all the buffs from the extra judgment tokens that they now get. That's a lot of DACA, because each of the Sagittors went down 20 points, right? So you lost 100 points right there. These guys went down, I think, 20. And then the Chthonian Berserks went down 35 each, so that's almost another 100. And then the Hecaton Land Fortresses, I think, were like 260. Yeah, you just got a free unit of Hearthguard in this list. That is a significant change to the faction right there, chat. That is pretty good. What's Harry Dan saying with Crusher Stampede? I don't know if I rate Harry Dan with Crusher Stampede. I like Harry Dan in Synaptic Nexus right now. I don't know if I like him anywhere else. I want to like Harry Dan in Vanguard Onslaught. I want that to be good. I just don't know if taking a 600-point model with no dice fixing and no defensive technology at all is worth it. Because I think you're like, oh, I can turn 1 Deep Strike Aircraft Harry Dan. How cool is that? And then I think he just immediately dies. Like, he jumps in turn 1, like, shoots at a tank, misses every attack, and then dies. And you're like, great. That was fun. So that might be where Harry Dan ends up. Which is a little bit frustrating, because Harry Dan is, like, maybe close to the most efficient anti-tank the Tyranids have now that Zoanthropes got, like, thrown into the garbage. I think you may still just be taking Zoanthropes, but you feel, like, so crappy about it that it just feels bad. I don't know. I was complaining about Tyranids the other day, because I think that the Tyranid faction's probably in a pretty solid spot, simply because it has a codex. So unlike a lot of other factions, it has like this level of redundancy over what other factions can do, where you can like, well, I have way more flexibility, I have way more available list archetypes, I have some good units, like all the Lictor stuff is good, the Vanguard Onslaught stuff is good. But the faction, it's a faction that was previously built around using duplicated stratagems to protect a front line of annoying stuff to kill, whether that was Tyrannifexes or volume units like Termagants or lone operatives. Like, you just had stuff that was obnoxious to kill in whatever detachment you were in. They were being protected by a Hive Tyrant, and then that would force the opponent to engage with you, because you also had good secondary scoring, and then if your opponent broke cover to come fight you, they would get killed by Zoanthropes. And like, that was the game plan. That was like how you played Tyranids pre-Dataslate. And then they were like, Zoanthropes got massively nerfed, and you can't duplicate 90% of the stratagems in your codex. So like, I don't know, find a new game plan, I guess. And it's like, it's just frustrating. Tyranids are like fairly a fine faction. I'm just like annoyed that basically all of my playtesting beforehand just got thrown into the garbage, which I don't know. It is what it is. I think that the Tyranids being built around the Hive Tyrant was really problematic, because the fact that the stratagems got nerfed sort of randomly, like the battle tactic change was to duplicated stratagems, was so dumb, because they clearly did not consider what category Tyranid stratagems were in. So if you look at like Vanguard Onslaught, they can literally only duplicate the one that gives you precision, is the only battle tactic that's duplicatable, because their +1 to hit stratagem requires multiple targets, so you can't duplicate it. And every other stratagem in the detachment is strategic ploy. All four of them are strategic ploy, 4 out of 6. So like, you went from having like very good stratagem efficiency to having none. It's like, I don't know. It's very frustrating. It's probably still like the best attachment. It's just annoying. And then they also nerfed the points value on top of that. Just a little bit of silly. Just a little silly. Really want to change the Tau -1 ballistic skill so you can play Tau Knights. Oh, because of the guidance ability, the guidance mechanic. Yeah. It is kind of annoying for the big stuff. I agree. I think it's like, I don't know. It feels like some of the big units were constructed around only guiding sometimes, like if you really needed to convert the big cannon, but you're bringing them for the big cannon, so you're always going to do that. I wish it was like maybe non-Titanic or something got -1 ballistic skill. Or maybe like the Titanic units had like a special multi-tracker war gear that was like, if you split fire, you don't get -1. I understand it for crisis teams. What they don't want you to do is be able to like take super duper like specialized crisis teams and then get +1 to hit with a billion different guns, but it is a little bit annoying. All right, let's go. All right, we got some Chaos Space Marines in the top here. Derek Apshe running CSM. Looks like a pretty classic. Whoa, triple Dark Communes. Are we all in on Accursed Cultist right now? There's a Legionary squad in this unit. Whoa! Abaddon can join Legionaries, so that might be why that's in there. And then triple Accursed Cultist, Chaos Bikers, double Forge Fiend, triple Nurglings in a Seekers unit. Wow, okay. So maybe some fast on-board utility. Because those things are move 14, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, I think it must be Abaddon with a big Legionary squad. He does, like, contribute all of the Chaos Marks, so you can Dark Obscurate them. Oh, no, but there's also Huron Blackheart. I missed that guy. Huron Blackheart. I feel like I have to look up Huron Blackheart every time he comes up. I don't know why I can't remember what that dude does. Also, his card looks exactly like Lucius the Eternal's. Oh, Chan, I can't find him now. God damn it. What have I done? This is not the first time we've had this interaction on stream. I very distinctly remember also losing here on Blackheart's carded previously, too. Okay, we found him. He's next to Harkin. I think I was looking too far below. Gives you +1 OC. Oh, and then you can redeploy infantry units. Ooh. Oh, but it's after deployment before the first round. Yeah, so it's before you roll go first, which is not great. This dude can swing 10 times. That's so many times. What? What? 10 times. It's not Twin Link though. It's only 1 Lightning Claw, but that's a lot of attacks. So I guess you could have like max OC3 Legionaries. That's kind of cool. Or he's just a dude who's there to redeploy stuff. And then a bunch of Nurglings. Yeah, that's a cool list. That's cool. That one seems very technical. I'm not 100% sure what's going on in that list, but it seems like a bunch of very useful units. I guess the Legionaries are also... They wound reroll in melee when opponents are on objectives, right? Take another quick look at them. Yeah, they... yeah, reroll wounds of 1. If the opponent is in range of an objective marker, reroll the wound roll. This is what the stupid Gene Stealers used to have, and then they got nerfed. Very sad. But it's an undefined unit anyway, so they can just full reroll for the CP. But I guess you're saving the command points to use somewhere else. That's also a battle tactic, so it's tactable. So I guess you don't necessarily want to be doing it too often. Also got Raven Guard over here. Honest to God, Raven Guard with Cave and Shrike and triple Phobos Librarians. Whoa, my dude, this list rocks. So Terminator, Ancient, and a Captain. So they can wombo combo together into a big Terminator squad. Yeah. And I believe Caven grants you a once per game redeploy, right? Where's that dude at? Shrike's actually like a pretty sick dude. He does give his unit lone operative. So he's probably with this as the jump back assault squad, just as like a little bit of a hammer unit. Because they do impact attacks. But he himself is sort of like a super solo. He doesn't actually need a team to do pretty well. I think you could... The downside is that you have to take him in Raven Guard, and you can't take him with any of the other characters. So you really have to like be into the Raven Guard meme if you want to play him. Oh, his unit goes into reserve. Oh, that's sad. It's not the Terminators. So the Terminators are just there to rapid ingress and then like Gladius Task Force into somebody with advance and charge. But he himself, yeah, has like 7 twin linked 2 damage attacks with precision. So he just like goes in and snipes all your characters out really easily. And then he gives his unit lone operative, including himself. Oh no, he gives his unit lone operative, and then he also has lone operative. So the interesting thing is like Illic Nightspear also has this unit, but it doesn't require him to be this rule, but it doesn't require him to be leading a unit. And he doesn't have lone operative. He just has that rule active all the time. It's weird that they decided not to do that to both, or pick a lane, because lone operative turns off when as soon as you attach to a unit anyway. So you don't necessarily need like a separate ability that gives you lone operative regardless of whether or not you're attached. But I think you would see a lot more Cave and Shrike if he was you could take him outside of Raven Guard. I think you would see him a lot. We then have triple Infiltrator squads, a Terminator squad. Oh, 2 Terminator squads. There are 2 Terminator squads in this list. Holy jeebus. Okay, and a Calidus Assassin. So the Infiltrator squads can attach the Phobos Librarian, who gives them lone operative. Shrike also gives his own unit lone operative. The Calidus Assassin has lone operative. And then you can deep strike both Terminator squads, because you don't necessarily have to strategic reserve them. Because they are together 760 plus 210. Yeah, they're just below half of your total value. So you can put and then the Combat Weapon Lieutenant, who's also lone operative. So you can put 6 units on the table that are immune to shooting, and then the rest of your army in deep strike. Dude, this list is a meme. What an absolute Chad this man is. That's so cool. Using strat twice is not good for the game. I think it depends on the strat. But I think that it made being the reactive player so much more interesting, because you had to choose when you were going to use stratagems. And I think that the downside is that they didn't really like apply the mechanics equally across the table, so they decided to nerf it for everyone. This list is like rad. This list is so cool. I love this list. First of all, I love Phobos Librarians. They also have a devastating wound smite when they overcharge. So they're kind of good at shooting.
Here's the $5 I owed you. Smile. Think we'll see the return of Skitari hordes again with Rangers at 80 and Vanguard at 70. Also, hi Inky.
See if Inky has anything to say today. She's been a little bit of a pill today, honestly. Do I think we'll see AdMech hordes? I don't think we'll see hordes. I think what we'll probably see are... I think we'll just see Skitari units be more efficient attached into existing units, but I think like the real damage dealers in AdMech are still the tanks, like the vehicles and the breachers. So like Honor Dragoon Crawlers, Cataphront Breachers, Iron Strider Ballistari, they all went down in points value. And they all have those battle line synergies. So you have more effective Skitarii now that are more resilient to apply those battle line synergies. But I don't think that they themselves are good enough to take in like mass quantities. You're probably looking at like 30 or 40 of them. I don't know about 70 or 80, honestly. I think you're just going to use the points that you got deducted from those to pay for heavier hitting units. But I still think like 4 or 5 units in Dune Riders is a very, very effective strategy. Because they can threat so far and must mess with people's objective control.
Can I post 1 to 2 lists I try to make for some help?
Stefanos, yeah, if you want to DM me a list over on Discord, I can take a look. No problem. All right. Well, Matthew DeFranza, your list rocks, and I love it. Oh yeah. So what I was saying is that those Phobos Librarians, each of them can do a D3 devastating wound smite. So if they like with their powers combined onto the Osa moment target, they each are probably good for like 2 to 4 mortal wounds. So if you like O's a tank in the middle of the table and just shoot it with the infiltrators, there's a non-zero chance you just kill it with the Librarians. Those guys they do not mess around when it comes to doing damage in the shooting phase. And because they can smite at 18, they can be 9 inches outside or like 6 inches outside of their lone operative aura before you're able to deal with them. Yeah, the Phobos Librarian is one of my favorite units in Space Marine Codex. It's so good and it's so underrated in my opinion. After 3 units of Von Ryan Sleepers with redeploy, what else do you take in a Tyranid Vanguard attachment? I was on 1 unit of Von Ryan Sleepers. God, I don't even know, man, because all of the game I played a bunch of games, which are actually they're over on the replay channel if you want to watch my pre-Dataslate games. I played a bunch of games with Vanguard Onslaught pre-Dataslate, not expecting the fucking stratagem change whatsoever. I took double Winged Hive Tyrants, which I love. I think the Winged Hive Tyrants rock. I don't know if 2 of them rock, though, now that you can't lone operative both of them in a turn. So, like, that's frustrating. I was on 1 Von Ryan Sleeper unit, and then basically, like, every Lictor. I think I had 2 base Lictors, triple Neuro Lictors, and Death Leaper. And you could maybe run triple Lictor, because they're cheaper now. And then you're like always in on the one like Biovore and like support stuff. A couple Gargoyle units. The problem is like armor cracking, and I had 18 Zoanthropes in there just to like come in late game and blow people up, and I don't know if that's good. Because they cost so many more points now. They cost 40 points a unit more, which is a bunch. All right. Let's move on. So this one, by the way, Mike Porter, who I've definitely talked about on the channel before because he's gone 5-0, I think, at tournaments, and I've definitely spoken about his tournament lists. There's people in the chat who always come in and are like, how about Harlequins? We have an honest-to-God Harlequin army today, chat. Look at this glorious composition. A kaleidoscope of beautiful colors of entirely Harlequin keyworded units. I don't know. It's just great. It's double Jester. One has Fate's Messenger. Solitaire. Triple Troop Master. Look at them go. One of them respawns. Plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 troops. Harlequin troops in 5 Star Weavers. Oh, this is 6 Star Weavers. So we might actually put some characters in Star Weaver. 2, 3. Oh, no, it's actually 6 troops. Just kidding. So it's sort of like the classic Harlequin troop Starweaver build. We have 2 units of Skyweavers, mostly just for utility, I imagine, and then 3 Void Weavers to shoot people. This list, I bet, actually, like, unironically scores secondary objectives like it's going out of style. I bet it's I mean, it's super fast. Puts OC, pretty high OC stuff on your objectives very quickly. The Death Jester, the Fate's Messenger Death Jester especially, is just like a nightmare to deal with, because that dude just picks up a unit every time he shoots. And the Solitaire is like pretty solid as well. If this list had the Incarn in it, this list would be nuts. But I guess he's not as good offensively if you don't have the Indirect Fire. But yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a solid list. I love it. Never thought you'd see that they weren't the most annoying faction in the game. Maybe they are now. I mean, all these little infantry squads, right? They're all potentially phantasmable. You can fire and fade the Star Weavers, right? So you can just like rocket them up on people's objectives and things. Or disembark the troop, like disembark, move, fire and fade to get on people's objectives. I don't know. It's like a lot of play. It's probably just a bunch of solid, like pretty solid units. And especially at the 3-round event level, if you're good at an army, you'd probably win anyway. It doesn't really matter what the power level of the army is specifically. Kenneth not playing Death Watch. So there's like a couple of Death Watch armies that went undefeated this weekend, if I remember correctly. And I think that maybe news of their death was slightly exaggerated, probably by myself included. I was worried that like with Desolation squads being just like thrown into the absolute like dumpster, that a lot of these Space Marine armies would have trouble competing. But it looks like, especially Death Watch, I think have started to take Stern Guard veterans instead. You save a bunch of points, so you get like either another kill team or like a Stern Guard veteran squad and some utility. And then these dudes are actually kind of legit, because that's your outlet for the special ammunition stuff, the special ammunition stratagems. And the fact that these guys fire mass 1 damage devastating wounds means that they're actually got a huge buff, because now you can't anti-mortal wound their damage away. So these dudes just like rinse Custodian Guard and stuff. Any of that stuff that was relying on mortal wound protection to save themselves from devastating wounds, Stern Guard veterans just absolutely destroy. And then once they kill a unit, they're like 3 shots apiece. You can increase their range with the special ammunition strat, so they get their 3rd shot at a longer distance. You like Tome of the Ectoclades them, they full reroll, shoot the unit to death, and then once per game double tap and do it again to the 2nd Tome of the Ectoclades unit. This unit actually rocks, which I love. I mean, you love to see Stern Guard veterans doing well. We are in Black Street Task Force, right? Yeah, we are. And I guess you can also set them up too, because you can put the Librarian with Beacon Angelus in, so he gives them a 4+ invulnerable save, so they're kind of hard to interact with. And then he lets you rapid ingress for free, so you just like hop in an annoying place where your opponent can't see, and then like move, extend your range, get in range of. I think they shoot 8 to 18 inches, if I remember correctly, with the rapid fire shot with the extra range on it. And then full reroll and just get a bunch of 6s. What a unit, chat. What an absolute unit. I love it. All right, moving on. This one, we got a Drukhari 3-0 and Tyranids. We're digging deep today. Let's talk about Drukhari real quick. By the way, look at these scores. Actually, they both got the same score. That's interesting. They both got 295. So clearly, I mean, the good secondary objective scorers are doing pretty well. This one's got an Archon and a Homunculus. No enhancements. We just left that stuff on the table because, especially like Art of Pain doesn't work when you're not on the battlefield. So if you're in a transport, it doesn't do anything. And the Archon unit wants to usually be in a transport. 1, 2, 3 Cabalite Warrior Bricks, 2 Rack units, triple Venoms. So we can, do we have Raiders? No, just Venoms. Whoa, okay. Interesting. So I guess we're just like maybe using the Dark Lances for backline, or the Venoms as a like a gunboat for them, and then we can throw the regular Splinter Rifle dudes into the Venoms, and they can go murder people and steal objectives and stuff. Racks are good for backline objective holding because they're tougher to kill. Double Chronos, so we can recycle like infinite pain tokens, and then triple Mandrakes for utility, triple Ravagers, and triple Scourges, or double Scourges for anti-tank plus a Void Raven Bomber. Basically classic Drukhari stuff, but you just get more of it now, which is nice. I was a little sad that Drukhari sort of side-graded their points, because they gained a bunch of points, right? All the Cabalite Warrior squads went down by 10. A lot of the infantry squads went down by 5. The Scourges went down by 10, I think. And then a lot of that just got recouped in the Ravagers points change. So they ended up getting a little bit of a decrease, but it probably wasn't as much as the faction needed. Although clearly it didn't hurt this guy. Eddie over here just nailing it. Who I think I've also talked about on this channel before. Chaos Knights straight up don't exist. I mean, that's like the same for Imperial Knights too, right? I don't think there's much of that we're talking about today. Kind of cool stuff. Oh, you posted it in Discord. Okay, yeah. You can just PM me too. All right. Let's talk about this list real quick before we talk about more Tyranids. Just throw it in Paceman here so we can take a look-see. Hope that shows up on stream. Nope, it super doesn't. Ta-da! So Hive Tyrant, double Exocrine, double Haruspex, Carnifex with Old One Eye, double Norn Emissaries. Is this, how many points is this right now? Is that the full list? The Hive Tyrant's like 230 now. Oh, I guess we can do this in new recruit, actually. I would probably cut one emissary, just looking at it from the get-go. Honestly, this list might be okay in what's the word? Assimilation Swarm. Because of the Haruspexes. If you cut emissaries for like psychophages. Okay. So you go to like Strikey Force. Need the sidebar, unfortunately. All right. And then you have one Hive Tyrant plus I would also always take a Biovore. I would never leave home without a Biovore, I think, at this point. Alright, so you have 2 Norn Emissaries right now. We'll just reconstruct this list from scratch. 2 Exocrines, 2 Haruspex, and then the big Carnifex brick. Should be 1 Carnifex, doubled. How do I add a Carnifex to this unit? How do you... Wait, does this let you add a Carnifex? Okay, now you just have to duplicate it. That's annoying. And then Old One Eye. Old One Eye. So that's 1725. Is that the whole list? Plus 2 River Swarms? Double Exocrine, double Harspex, Ripper Swarms, okay, yeah. So honestly, I think I would just take 1 Norn. I think 2 get in each other's way, and especially because they're also going to be like want to be taking up the same real estate as the Harspexes, kind of. They all sort of do the same thing. I would take 1 Biovore for sure. For secondaries all the time, forever. I think I'm in on triple, regardless of what detachment you're in, I'm almost always in on triple Neurolictors. Because they give you, you can like, if you're trying to hold an objective to max primary, the one downside the Tyranids had previously was maxing primary. At their base level, you just put Neurolictors like 5 inches away from the edge of an objective control area. And then any unit that touches that, they force a battle check on at the start in your next command phase. And so if you put 2 or 3 of them there, you can force like up to 4 battle shock checks out of like in your command phase to just try to flip the objective before your turn goes. The Norn Emissary is like tough to deal with, so he can sort of, if he singular purposes an objective, he probably takes it. But you can potentially do that to other objectives around the edges, and if your opponent can't deal with them, you can just like try to flip that and stop it. Oh, there's 2 Tyrants? Oh. 2 Tyrants is definitely too many Tyrants. Yeah, I would axe that guy. You very rarely want duplicates of those big things, I think, in Tyranids. Because the 2 Tyrants don't interact really very well. And then I would take... So if you want to play like Assimilation Swarm, I would take a couple Pyrovore or Psychophages. If you wanted to play... I mean, Invasion Fleet's always good because I think it has the best brace of stratagems that the Tyrants can use. So that one's pretty solid. You could also get away with this one if you took a couple extra Psychic stuff in Synaptic Nexus. And that would also be fine. That one's good for the Emissary, especially because it can Armor of Contempt. So it's actually very difficult to deal with if it's in cover. In the middle. It's less good for the other units because they can't necessarily use the Armor of Contempt strat, but really the Narn Emissary is the only unit that benefits from that anyway. So it's not that big of a deal. Simulation Swarm being Pyrovores? Yeah, you're probably on like... If you run Assimilation, you probably do like this. Also, honestly, triple Pyrovore is extremely strong anyway. I would almost just do that regardless, and then you probably take a Psychophage. And another Ripper Swarm, probably. So that would most likely be the list if you were in Assimilation. It's very good because it keeps the Harlespexes alive, and if you're playing Monster Mash, it just like passively heals you, so that's pretty solid. You could also, I guess, you have 10 points left. You could probably just cut the last Psychophage for another Haruspex. That's probably better, actually. That's way better. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's a significant upgrade. So that would be pretty okay. Plus, healing the Norn Emissary is like kind of a meme. It's not very often that guy gets one shot, and then you could just start to regenerate him pretty passively. If he kills units, you can regenerate again. Seems good. This is new recruit chat. I think it's a relatively new one. The big benefit is that it's not super slow like Rosterizer, and you can export directly to Yellow Scribe if you're playing on Tabletop Simulator. Which some people on my Discord pointed out to me. I was like, oh shit. It's pretty nice, and it's browser based, so you don't have to download like a weird app. I guess like the other question is if there's a better detachment for this. I guess the other one would be like you could always just run Invasion Fleet, and that's always probably fine. If you run Invasion Fleet, you probably like cut down some stuff to take like Maliceptors. I'm also missing Gargoyles in this list. You need a little bit of reach. But yeah, I don't know. That's the easiest one, especially if you want to. If you're in on the Haruspexes, that's probably what I would play. Is the Assimilation Swarm build. Yeah, the one thing you have to do, you have to like ensure that you do is Strategic Reserve a bunch of stuff. Like Strategic Reserve early and often, basically. Old One-Eye Strategic Reserving is really good. Because then you can Rapid Ingress, where exactly like 1 or 2 enemy units can shoot you. And then if your opponent elects to shoot you, then you can trigger their reactive move, and then like the game's over at that point. They just go blow something up. I wonder if that unit's really good in Vanguard Onslaught. Because you can turn 1 reserve them. I guess it's not that great, actually. You can't Strategic Reserve when you turn 1 reserve them. Or Rapid Ingress them, so it's not that good. Maybe Deathleaper? Yeah, Deathleaper's great. I love Deathleaper. I would never say no to a Deathleaper, for sure. Deathleaper and regular Lictors are always, like, amazing. I think regular Lictors have been overshadowed by Neurolictors, just because the Neurolictor is so useful, but... I mean, I don't think there's like a huge difference between the two. The Neurolictor's like just generically super strong. Oh, Inky's back. What's up, girl? But the regular Lictor does more damage and is like a better utility unit. Rapid Ingressing the regular Lictor for free is pretty solid too. Inky, hi. Oh, you're hidden by a chat box. Say hello. Look at this cat. She's so cute. Just looking at all the weird stuff on my screen right now. She's like, Trevi, I've taught myself how to use OBS. Prepare to be out of a job. All right, let's continue our journey through the RTTs of the world, chat. Yeah, pyrovores are also like the thing to consider too. They have like a real Cyberwolf effect going. Ripper Swarms are better for this, obviously, because they're cheaper and faster. But pyrovores, it's a single model with a huge base. They have an enormous base for 30 points. They have a good gun. They like randomly overwatch well sometimes. They have a good utility. Like pulling cover off stuff is good for most of the units in the army, because you can like run them sort of alongside the big monsters, and then you like pull cover off something. The Exocrines get a bump from it. The Norn Emissary gets a bump from it because its big laser is only AP3. So if you're shooting at a 6 save unit in cover, they're saving on a 5, and you can push that to a 6 with the Pyrovore. And then also, like, everything in tier, like, every Tyranid monster randomly has a little gun somewhere, and pulling cover off all of that stuff makes it generically do more damage. Plus, they can screen really well. They do utilities really well. I almost always have one in, like, the back corner somewhere to do investigate signals, because they screen, like, a really big area of the table for 30 points. And then also, like, are just in a sweet spot for random pickups. All right, let's look at, speaking of Tyranids, let's look at this Tyranid list. It is an invasion fleet. We have a Hive Tyrant with adaptive biology. Oh my god, look at this friggin' 260 points. At least the Hive Tyrant in an invasion fleet is the most effective Hive Tyrant, I think, because invasion fleet has a bunch of battle tactics, if I remember correctly. Look at it. Did I pull out my codex here? How many battle tactics does Invasion Fleet have? Survey says... I know that Rapid Regen continued to be battle tactic.
Would you mind going over that assimilation swarm list running 6 Tyrant Guard? Strength 9-3 attacks. Each Tyrant Guard seem interesting with regen.
Yeah, what list is that? If you can send me the list, then I will do it. All right, so yeah, Invasion Fleet has Rapid Regen and Adrenal Surge, which are the two that you most often duplicated anyway. Sometimes you got a free Overrun or a free Endless Swarm, but it very rarely happened. I guess you can't Imperative people for free, so you're almost only Adrenal Surging for free on your own turn, but the Rapid Regen being a battle tactic is huge. There are some of the detachments, their defensive stratagem, including Assimilation Swarm, unfortunately, their defensive stratagem is not even a battle tactic. And I guess the other open question is whether or not Assimilation Swarm has good battle tactics. Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, honestly, going back to that list that we just built, chat, I might even cut the Top Tyrant if we were in Assimilation, because it doesn't do anything. So I would probably stick with Invasion Fleet with that one, and then maybe like you can take 2 Harrospexes and just go with that. The problem with Pyrovores is the actual dollar cost. Yeah, that's always been the issue with those things. I don't know what the idea there is. That they like make this huge, hard to like acquire model, and then always make it like a 30-point single entity infantry unit. Like, it doesn't make sense. Whatever, I don't know. It's G-dub. For the cost of your 3 Pyrovores, you could buy a 3D printer. You know, just saying. All my Pyrovores are 3D printed, by the way. Don't tell anyone. All right, so we have in this list a Hive Tyrant, a Nero Tyrant, triple Termagants. Is anyone having success with Guard? Yeah, I think Guard are solidly middle of the road right now. They lost a lot of their artillery, but they're so good at shooting with the direct fire shooting so strong with all their cheaper tanks. 1 Haruspex, 1 Exocrine, double Lictor, Maliceptor, Ripper Swarm, double Tyrannofex with Acid Spray. Whoa! Dude, we played Tyrannofexes post-nerf. Holy shit. Plus a Zoanthrope unit at 220. So just one Zoanthrope, but we're using the Tyrannofexes to sort of like eat the hit, and then the Haruspex cleans up, I think. The Haruspex and the Zoanthrope unit. One Zoanthrope unit feels so bad though. These guys have at least in Invasion Fleet, they have a little bit more dice fixing because they can get sustained sometimes. But the number of times I roll 6 Zoanthropes onto something and they laser beam it, they do stone nothing for damage. It feels like 100% of the time. If you don't have 2 or 3 Zoanthrope units, it's like concentrating on the same target. They're so inconsistent because it's so low volume attack volume that with like very few rerolls that it feels really bad. I usually like strategic reserve 1 or 2 Zoanthrope units in a lot of my games, and then sometimes they'll pop on and 6 laser cannons will go into a tank and they'll do literally no damage. I'll be like, all right, cool. And usually with buffs, like with an extra good shot and or a Pyrobore shot. $245 Tyrannofex hurt so hard. Yeah, honestly, I don't really love the Tyrannofex. It is funny because I was kind of decrying the Norn Emissary, but I kind of feel like the Norn Emissary is just like the upgraded version of the Tyrannofex now. It doesn't Overwatch as good because it doesn't have the auto-hitting flamer, but honestly, I don't know if I rate the Tyrannofex flamer that well anyway. It's good for like, it averages killing like 3 Space Marines. So a lot of times your opponent's like, okay, Overwatch you, I'm in cover, and for some reason you don't have Torrent. Or you don't have ignore cover, so like I'll just save on 4s and like it's fine. And the Tyrannofex is like, okay, cool. 245 for this thing that hits like a wet noodle is a little bit awkward. Whereas the Emissary, it loses the 0 damage once per game, but it gets a 5+ feel no pain a lot of times and a built-in invulnerable save, which means it's probably harder to kill for only like 45 more points, and has a laser cannon that shoots far, or I guess it shoots the same distance, but it's better against tanks. And it has better melee, and it's faster. I don't know. I don't know. -2 AP Armor of Contempt plus cover, yeah, for sure. At least, I mean, they can't Armor of Contempt on Overwatch, right? So at least there's that. But yeah, it is, I don't know if I rate that. I guess the benefit that the Tyrannofex has is that you can stack the 5+ feel no pain, whereas the Emissary a lot of times has that baked in, so it's like not necessarily the, you don't necessarily get like extra efficiency out of it. I almost wonder if this person would rather have been playing Emissaries.
I'm going to send you a list. New meta.
Alright. Let's look at this list. Isaac, do you just send me full Big Night lists every week? Is this like the meme now? Is this what we do? What does the Haruspex attachment do again? Every single assimilator or harvester, excuse me, in range of an objective heals another enemy or another unit for D3 wounds. You can't duplicate the healing without stratagems, I believe, but you can basically just like, if they spread damage on your army, even if you have heavy infantry, you can regenerate infantry. You basically get like reanimation protocols. If they spread damage, you can heal tons and tons of damage. They also supercharge the harvester units. You can give them a 4+ feel no pain for 2 CP, and you can like full hit reroll them, I think. All right, what is this list? There's a Canis Rex, already starting strong. A Cerastus Knight Atropos. At least we don't have to know what any of their bondsman abilities do, because none of them can bondsman in this list, so that's useful. A Castellan. Hey, no downside for the Castellan now that it doesn't have a bondsman, because the bondsman abilities like don't do anything. And then a Knight Gallant. Certainly seems like a list, chat. I guess it's hiding. Basepin is not displaying the entire list on my stream overlay here. Plus a Calidus Assassin, love it. Inquisitorial Henchman, love it. Let's look at the Atropos real quick. Acheron, Atropos. And we have the laser cannon on him? Oh no. Oh, he gets both. So it's either D6, Strength 14, AP 3 for 4. So it's just, that's the same as Canis Rex's gun, is that right? Or the Singularity Cannon is Devastating Wound, Hazardous, D6 plus 1 damage for D3 shots with Blast. Downgrade on that guy, unfortunately. Spell is affected by its bondsman when you target Titanic or Towering, but doesn't do anything, so who cares? You get +1 to hit and +1 to wound if you're shooting monsters or vehicles. That's very good. I do think, honestly, that because of the new Towering rules and the fact that they discounted a bunch of Towering stuff, it's funny that I think Knights got, like, basically just yeeted into the sun, but other factions might take Titanic units more often. So, like, I mean, I think that there's a non-zero chance Tyranids take some Titanic stuff. Like, Harry Dan might pop up occasionally because it got, like, a 50-point cut. Necron Titanic is going to be seeing a lot of play, I imagine. A lot of people are putting, like, Tesseract Vaults and Monoliths into their list because they got points cuts, too. They got, like, huge points cuts. We're seeing, like, Storm Surges, potentially, and Tau lists as well. So you might see other factions running Titanic units, and +1 to win against them is actually kind of solid. I guess it only shoots 24 inches. It's just not very far. I don't know if I like Canis Rex, chat. Is Canis Rex okay still? I guess he does a lot of damage. It just sucks that he doesn't have, like, this ability just got removed from his sheet. It just doesn't do anything anymore. Which is unfortunate. He still has the, like, 5+ criticals rule, I guess. For 460, maybe that's fine. Maybe he's okay. Because, like, compared to the other knights, he's still more expensive than the regular guys. I don't know. He does a lot of damage, so it's probably fine. Maybe I'm okay with Canis Rex. Yeah, I don't know. Seems okay. It's 4 big knights, so it's probably not very good, but you know that already. Dataslate made you buy a Norn head to slap on a Tyranid and call it a Maliceptor, because what a nerf. Yeah, it's nuts. Absolutely. Absolutely labasted. Atropos is the truth. Hitting on 2s is a big deal. That's solid. Hitting on 2s with a floating reroll on a 1 is really good. $400-point Storm Shirts? Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That thing might just be good because it's cheap as hell and has a huge gun. But I think the question is, like, what's better? A 400-point Storm Surge or fucking 3 Hammerhead gunships? Because you get those things basically... They're like water, those things. They are basically free. Monoliths are trash? I don't think that's been the experience of most of the Necron players that I've spoken to. It seems like Necron players are very high on the Monolith. I guess the downside now is that it can't tower through ruins. So like, there was a play pattern where you would just deep strike the Monolith into the center of the table and shoot anything you wanted to. Because, like, usually you'd have angles past walls and stuff, and that doesn't happen anymore. But, I think it's still fine. Like, your opponent has to eventually come deal with you as a Necron player, and all you want them to do is, like, walk out into the open, and then you shoot them with a billion shots. Canis almost 100 more than a Crusader. Yeah, but he's like... He's a different unit than a Crusader, right? Because the Crusaders are just, like, shooting platforms. He's more like comparable to a Warden, I guess. But the Warden, I feel like you're paying for the Bondsman. I guess they get devastating against infantry, which is, like, pretty good.
Resent you the PM with the list.
Oh, sweet. Send me a list. Okay. Gotta go find it, I guess. Gotta bite the bullet, run Deathwatch, kill teams with the Gladius attachment. I mean, that's probably fine, honestly. Black Spear Task Force, I think, is really good still. I would not I would not discount it entirely, but I think that Gladius Task Force is fine. You're basically never like sad about running Gladius. Oh, Inky's back. Hi. You want to sit? Come hang out with chat? Hi, Katie. All right, let's go find this assimilation swarm. Why won't it open? There it is. So this was X and 1 at a GT. Does it show up? Okay. Nice. So Rocky Death Leaper, who's solid. Hi, Inky. We are looking at... Here's Inky, by the way. It's Death Leaper, a Hive Tyrant. What a cutie pie. With parasitic biomorphology. That is... Just gonna grab my assimilation swarm rules here, chance. So that is when you destroy an enemy in the fight phase within 6 inches of one or more harvesters, which is like probably looks like most of the rest of the list. You get +1 attack, 2 models in the bears unit, and you get +1 strength permanently. So the Hive Tyrant itself goes up to 10 and 8 on the Scything Talons. And then it goes up to 7 attacks with the Bone Sword. Now, I don't believe that the Scything Talons get the bonus of attacks because they are extra attack weapons, so you can't modify their attack value. We have triple Haruspexes, double Neurolector, triple Psychophages, so yeah, just all of the resilient Harvester units. The other benefit here is that so there's a big Tyrant Guard unit to put the Hive Tyrant in. They are not themselves benefited from any of the stratagems, I believe. You can give it +1 to wound for a CP against something that kills a harvester. So if something like trades for a Haruspex, you can give them +1 to wound it, which is pretty solid. It's actually a lot of times like sort of nets +2 to wound if you're also +1 strength. And then you can, yeah, otherwise you can like heal them sometimes is I guess the only other thing that benefits. You can give them lethal hits, but that's not that good because we're running Crushing Claws, so the Tyrant Guard are only 2 attacks base, so lethal hits isn't that useful for them, but they are twin linked, and then they go up to strength 9 with the buff, and you can get +1 to wound if they've killed a Haruspex already. So you can get them to wounding most vehicles on 3s or 4s with twin links, so rerolling. And then when they kill something, then the Hive Tyrant gives them all +1 attack, so they all go to 3 attacks. And then if you shoot that unit and don't kill them, when they regenerate, I believe it's literally just reanimation protocols. Oh, no, it's not. You can just return infantry to infantry units. So you can just regenerate 1 Tyrant Guard every round. And if you have other regeneration effects, you can continuously regenerate that unit. So you can potentially, if you killed a unit in the fight phase. Oh, holy shit. Yeah, so I guess the Wombo combo is if you kill a unit in the fight phase for 1 CP as a battle tactic, importantly, you can regenerate them. And then if you do it again, if you killed 2 units in 1 phase, you can regenerate them a second time. Yeah. Harvesters can regenerate 3, but that doesn't do anything.
How good are the Hierogios in your opinion? When would you consider taking them in a list?
I think that Barb Tyranidals are solid because they have a big gun. I think side Tyrandules try to fill the role that a lot of other units in the Tyranid Codex already do, where they're like, I'm a big thing that's good in melee, but also like shoots at 18 inches. And at the point slip value that they are, it's questionable whether you would take them over like a Norn or just like a bunch of Maleceptors. Barb Tyrandules, however, do something that not very many other units do, which is that they have just like they shoot a gun that's pretty solid. Plus they melee pretty okay, and they're hard to kill as well, so they kind of have like the trifecta of really good stuff. I think that they're like a solid playable. I wouldn't take one every list. If you are facing a lot of medium infantry, like 2-wound infantry, like Space Marines, they're so good at killing them. And I think it's a special consideration for them in Invasion Fleet specifically, because you can get lethal hits onto vehicles. And the downside of the unit is that it's really a mediocre, like a super mid-range attack profile, strength 9, AP 2 damage, if I remember correctly. So it doesn't punch heavy vehicles very well, but if you give them lethal hits, that's like almost equivalent to getting +1 to wound with shooting attacks. Yeah, here's his data sheet. Yeah, strength 9, AP 2 damage. It's 2 of the gun, so it's 2d6 plus 6, which averages 13 shots. If you're getting rural ones from an exocrine, you probably get 3 lethal hits, and then you probably get like 1 or 2 more automatic, or just like natural wounds. So you are probably looking at forcing like 4 or 5 saves onto a vehicle. And if you pyrovored them, if the wombo combo is assembled, then most vehicles are saving on 5s. So you're probably good for like 8 damage into a lot of vehicles with this guy. If you've done everything to buff him up. Plus, he then suppresses units. Any unit that you shoot at outside Titanic, which is important because a lot of those things are like infantry only. And then, yeah, I mean, it's just a solid defensive profile too. Non-Titanic, so a lot of the anti-Titanic stuff doesn't work on you. The one downside is that they're really big, so they're kind of hard to hide and they're hard to maneuver, but that's not the end of the world. You can sometimes just strategic reserve them and it's fine. Because the benefit of Tyranid buffs is that very few of them actually need to be in a range of your own models. You apply them to enemy models. So I think I would play this guy pretty commonly in Invasion Fleet, and I would certainly consider it in Synaptic Nexus too, because you can give the gun rerolls with the reroll aura. Those are both probably strong. So I would say I like the Barbed Hyrule. I like it pretty good. The downside is it's expensive, but what is it in Tyranids these days? AP2 the Codex? Yeah, I mean, if you're like that worried about AP2, then I have bad news for you in the Tyranid Codex. Like everything's AP2. Is the Tyrant Guard regen battle tactic? Yes, it is. Yeah, so I guess what you can do potentially is if you get that Hive Tyrant in on 2 things, you can regen twice and bring 2 Tyrant Guard back. I guess it's tough to kill 2 units and also have the Tyrant Guard be still alive. But I don't know. Seems solid. The Zoanthropes also do the same thing, where you can start to regen the Zoanthropes and then bring the whole models back. So I guess the interesting Wombo combo is that you have so many Harvesters that you have like infinite regeneration outlets, and you have basically 4 units that are not only can the Harvesters regenerate themselves, which is great, but you also have 4 infantry units that you can return at like 50, what are these, like 40-point models to every turn. So you're basically doing like the once per game Custodes strat like a bunch of times. Like 3 or 4 times a turn potentially. So it's a lot of beef, chat. The real trick is not getting your units one shot. I think that's because these are not hard to kill units. Tyrant Guard just like fall over a lot of times. But 6 of them might be fine. It's also sad that there's no like there are Venom Throps assist, I believe. Oh, maybe there aren't. Just kidding. Wow, this would be great with Venom Throps. Oh, maybe not, because I guess the Tyrant Guard with the Hive Tyrant actually like buff themselves out of being able to be affected by Venom Throps, so that's funny. But it would affect the Zoanthropes. And then make them harder to one-tap, and then you have a better chance of regenerating. Also, it's weird that Venom Throps aren't Harvesters, by the way. I feel like that should be... Venom Throps and Toxicrins, I feel like, should both have the Harvester keyword. I don't... I don't know. It's weird. Just ask Necrons, yeah. If you could do this reactively in response to people shooting at you, this list would be fucking nuts. But you have to do it in very specific circumstances. I think it's like when your own units die. Yeah, so it's when your own unit dies, and when you kill an enemy in melee and in your command phase. Yeah. Are the 3 instances at which you can regen. FLG says Venom Thropes can affect Tyrant Guard. Let's look. FLG says a lot of stuff, alright? Yeah, I think I can understand the reasoning because it doesn't say excluding monster units, but the unit is implied there because we are talking about Tyranid units. I don't think that there's a great argument that the Venom Thropes affect the Tyrant Guard because it is both an infantry and monster unit. And this doesn't say Tyranid infantry units. If it said Tyranid infantry units, you'd be correct. It says non-monster Tyranid units. And Tyrant Guard are certainly a monster unit if there's a Tyrant inside the list. Inside the attached to them. Venom Thropes and Toxicrin's not getting Harvester tilts? Yeah. The Venom Thropes would be... Like, the Toxicrin, I feel like, should just get buffed because it's, like, horrible, and I think the more opportunities people have to play that, like, terrible model, I think it's fine. Like, I don't think that this guy really is really, like, hurting so hard for... Or, you know... This guy needs the help, alright? But also, the Venom Thropes would be nice because they would actually be very good at it. Because Venom Thropes are always in a position where there's like one dude towed onto your objective and they're in the middle of your army. And so it's like, it's the perfect unit just from a mechanical standpoint to get Harvester. Like, I understand the Psychophages could do it, but... Alright, so I understand the use case of this list. I actually really like it. I wish we could get some Sixers of Zoanthropes in there so that like you could just constantly be regenerating them. But the fact that you can basically almost always regenerate once per phase in your opponent's turn, and then also you can do it potentially up to twice per phase in your own turn, in your fight phase, is really good. I guess the only downside is that it doesn't shoot very well, but it just tanks so hard that it's probably fine. I'd give this list a go, honestly. Imagine trying to out-deploy this list, by the way, too. Triple Ripper, triple Pyrovore, triple Psychophage, triple Haruspex, double Lictor, double Neurolictor, triple Zoanthropes. So this is like 17 units. Classic Tyranids. And your opponent's like, oh, what unit is that guy in? You're like, no. He's the individual unit. Everybody's a one-off. Is the Neurotyrant a monster? It unfortunately is, yeah. Which is too bad, because that dude would be so legit inside a Tyrant Guard unit. But honestly, I think the Neurotyrant, in my experience, has been good as just a singleton, like just an individual dude wandering around the table. In all my games, I never actually like felt the need to necessarily keep him safe, and he was fine. He was fine anyway. I don't know if you want to. Like, I don't know if Tyrant Guard are good enough to, like, take a billion of them. Because you also need the units that you're actually going to be triggering the regenerations off of. You can't just take Tyrant Guard. And they're, like, slow, and they don't do anything. I don't know. Alright. Let's talk Astra Militarum, chat. So this was a 4-round event, which is really interesting. I guess this is just like an Iron Man. They just did 4 rounds in a day. Launch break at round 2. Yeah, they just did 4 rounds in a day like an absolute Chad. And it's 2,000 points, so they just ran right through, which I really appreciate. Normalize 40k playing 4 games in a day. Although it's kind of hard in 10th edition, because 10th edition actually takes like significantly longer than 9th. Towards the end of 9th, I think you could do 4 rounds in a day really easily. Because almost every single game was over in like after like hour 2. Occasionally you had really tight games that went super long, but it was very rare. 10th edition feels like it goes to hour 3 every time because of tactical objectives, but it is what it is. All right. We've got Gonskos, Lord Leontis, 1 command squad, regimental engineer, the Sly Marbo himself. Hell yeah, let's go. 2 tank commanders, Cadian shock troops, big death corps, 2 20s of death corps. Holy crap. Did these guys get a points cut in the field manual, by the way? The infantry go down? Because Cadian shock troopers used to be 65? Quick look. I don't even know if I had realized that the infantry got a cut. They did. Wow. Okay. Holy crap. Yeah. So 40 Death Corps of Krieg. So the ability for this army to hold midboard is much better now with those units being cheaper. Sick. Because the Death Corps units used to be like, they're like 70 points base or something, or 80 points base or something. They're like a nuts expensive. But that's very efficient with a meta pack. How much is the character attachment? The Primaris Psyker. Did he go down? Because he gives them a 4+ invulnerable save. I can't even find him. There's too many entries in the Astra Militarum index. Let me be real with you. Oh, there he is. Oh, no, he's still 60. So it's like half the cost of the unit. It's the cost of 10 guys to give them a better save. Yeah, it's not that great. That's probably not worth, especially since they die and then you respawn them and the guy doesn't come back anyway. 1 Basilisk, 2 individual Scout Sentinels, a Storm Sword. Let's go, dude. Plus double Tempestus Ions. Dude, this list is hype. Double Tank Commander Storm Sword and 50 Infantry plus support. Holy crap. Oh man, that's what I'm saying, chat. The infantry went down, the direct fire shooting went down, the indirect fire went up, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, Storm Sword at 500 is sick. This list went down a ton. And so you basically, let's just like, you have to come out to fight the infantry, and if you come out to fight the infantry, you just get absolutely blasted by the big cannons. If you, especially without Desolation Squads just like picking up entire infantry units for free, if you don't have like a good sort of either tradable anti-infantry shooting that's like way more efficient than the Death Corps, which is very difficult to do with, then you almost have to bring out important stuff and then the big guns kill you. Nice. I almost want to see a Trojan support vehicle on this list, but we have the regimental engines here to buff the tank. All right. Let us take a quick look-see back in the thing. I saw some people asking for Black Templars. I think Black Templars are probably gonna be like looking pretty good. The real question is whether we can find any. I am only gonna be live for a couple more minutes, by the way, chat. So we'll keep taking peeks down the line. Got Eldar, Chaos Demons, Chaos Space Marines in this one. Some Genestealer cults. Was this post-nerf Genestealer cults? No, this was pre-nerf points values. So no wonder Genestealer cults won that one. There were a lot of people saying that I saw some opinions that Genestealer cults were doing extremely well in the new environment, and I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if Genestealer cults are gonna be that great post-nerf. They got the shit kicked out of them. We have some World Eaters today. At least 2,000 they are. This is post-nerf, right? Or post-Dataslate? This has Tyranids, but this is a Chaos Knight list. Who was talking about Chaos Knights? Yeah, this must be Post-Dataslate, because we played points down to fit everybody in. Oh no, it says Tyranids there, and then it says Chaos Knights differently later. And this had this had updated Tau points values. So we have Chaos Knights with a Lancer. The new plastic Cerastus Knight Lancer makes its appearance. Is the plastic one out? I think it is, right? A Desecrator, 1 Stalker, triple Brigand, Executioner, Huntsman, Carnivore. No enhancements, right? Just straight up taking a bunch of dudes. Is the Lancer good in Chaos Knights? It must be, right? Because it projects their Battle Shock auras way farther than you would normally see. It just doesn't have like any of its own special abilities, right? Because it's just using the Imperial Knight's datasheet, basically. The Chaos Knight thing. Get -1 Battle Shock on Battle Round 1. And it tank shocks for free, right? It's pretty good. So I guess you can you could be cheeky with it, right? And you could run up and it's so weird because the Imperial Knight Lancer doesn't bondsman for advanced charge anymore. Is that thing kind of bad? Jesus. But you could shoot a unit, a model out of a unit, and then charge another unit and kill it, because the thing basically kills whatever it charges regardless. And then that automatically forces the battle shock on the unit that you shot at. It's kind of sweet. Oh, do these guys have advanced and charge baked in? I think I'll have to take your word for that one, chat. I don't know if I have the Chaos Knight Index downloaded. Oh, I found it. No, he can't advance and charge. He just gives War Dogs Assault. It's kind of sad. Maybe I don't like this Cerastus Knight Lancer. Assault is a nice ability to have. And he himself has Assault. But there's no way to advance and charge this guy, right? He just is a guy. So he can advance and shoot, but he shoots his crappy Tesla gun. Yeah, I don't know, chat. The nice thing about the Lancer previously is that it forced your opponent to deploy really conservatively, because you could force melee. You could threaten melee with them on the top of turn 1. But the version that can't advance and charge is a little bit sad. Well, he used to advance and charge with Imperial Knights, because the Imperial Bondsman ability was advance and charge. But now only the Armiger gets affected by Bondsman abilities. So the Cerastus Knight Lancer, as far as I know, has no access to advance and charge game-wide now. So it used to advance and charge in Imperials, but it doesn't anymore. Yeah, I don't know if I rate this guy. But clearly, it worked out for this dude, because he went undefeated with it. It does have a built-in 4+ invuln, so it kind of gives you a free roll on your rotate ion shields on the Desecrator. So it doesn't matter what they shoot at. The stuff in the front of your army is always going to have a 4+ invuln, so that's kind of nice. It's a little tanky. But the fact it doesn't shoot good is a little bit awkward. I mean, I guess giving Brigands Assault is actually pretty okay. That it does sort of force a lot of pressure on your opponent. Nah, it's maybe fine. Hey, Kenneth, thanks for the membership. Hope you enjoy it. All right, we got World Eaters over here. Angron with Sam Nearius and Spine Grinder, Winged Demon Prince. So one thing that I've been seeing a lot of people talk about, not the winged one. The winged one, I think it chooses a prey and then gets rerolls against them. But the melee one gives a 4+ invulnerable save and an aura to infantry. And I've been seeing a lot of people rocking 100 Jackals with the 4+ invuln save around that guy, because the Jackal's got a big points decrease. And that sounds actually really scary. The question mark is whether or not it beats anti-infantry shooting, and it might, because they are very difficult to kill. and they're very fast. We have a Master of Executions, 1 Khorne Berserker Brick, a big unit of 10 in a Rhino, plus 1 Chaos Spawn, a Hellbrute, 2 Hellbrutes, and then 3 War Dog Carnivores and a Skull Cannon. Wow, it's kind of the it's kind of just like the Angron and Khorne Berserker show over here, right? Everybody else is just by themselves. Yeah, in a Rhino, and then we have like a bunch of vehicles and stuff wandering around the table. That seems okay, I guess. If you're gonna dump all of your Blessing of Khorne abilities on one turn, like, you just pick whatever Angron needs, basically, and it makes your decision making a lot easier. Yeah, we're not running Berserker Glaive though. I agree with you. The Berserker Glaive on the winged dude is actually sick, especially when you give him like +2 to charge, right? Because then he hops in and like shoots a rerollable 7. But this one is running. Oh, I guess it's +2 movement. It's not +2 to charge. It's not that exciting actually. This one's running Helm of Brazen Ire, so half damage. So he could like Rapid Ingress and then like eat some hot shots and not die. I guess, yeah, when you're Rapid Ingressing, it's fine, because he moves like 12 and then advances and charges, so he actually has a really respectable throw range out of Ingress. At that point, you almost don't even need to Rapid Ingress, but it gives you more optionality. Yeah, so he rerolls hits and wounds against one thing, and his weapon profile base is pretty solid. The extra attacks from the hat is pretty cool, though. Or from the axe, excuse me. He gets +1 attack and damage. +1 attack and damage base, and then when he charges, it turns into a D3 instead. Jesus Christ. So that could be swinging 9 attacks at 6 damage. Fuck. That's insane. That's so good. It's not even that bad against infantry, right? Because he could go up to like 17 4 damage attacks. Seems okay. Yeah, I like that. That's actually sick. I like that combo. Is that the best place for the glaive? This list has it on the Juggernaut Lord, which is also fine, I guess. Just has more base attacks. Low AP though. The Chainblade being AP1 is awkward. I guess you can buff the... I think you can buff the strength of the horn, right? So it goes up plus the... or the damage of the horn. But you can't give it the extra attacks, if I remember correctly. I forget if you can numerically improve extra attack weapons. You just can't make additional attacks with them. I think that's how it works. All right, chat. Well, I'm going to do a quick pass for some Black Templars over here. Let's take a look-see. Oh, we got some Dark Angels. Let's actually look at Dark Angels, because Dark Angels is another one that's on the radar, being really strong. This one has Imperial Knights in it. Holy crap. What is this list? Double Gladiator Lancers at their new points value. A Deathwing Command Squad. 2 Deathwing Command Squads. 2 Captains of Terminator Armor. Plus Lancers and Infiltrators and Warglaives. This is just a very aggressive list. This is just running across the table at you with a billion units. That's wild. I don't know what to say about this one. It's sort of nuts. Another Chaos Knights undefeated. Or is that the same one we just looked at? That was another one. Those 2 Chaos Knights. Did we give Chaos Knights a little bit of a hard time here? Are Chaos Knights actually the truth? That's the one I just looked at. So there are a lot of very small events now. That's a test event. It's just somebody playing with the format. Skari Drukhari went undefeated with Drukhari again. We have already talked about Drukhari. I don't know if we need to keep harping on him. Chaos Knights again? Holy shit. Wait, chat. Are Chaos Knights like actually amazing? What is this? What is this Chaos Knight domination? Chaos Knights again? Chaos Knights won like every RTT this weekend. What the fuck? I thought they were bad. Wait a minute. I have to re-record my whole tier list video. What am I missing here? What am I missing about this faction where they keep winning every time? Maybe it was old points. Stalkers at 135, is that right? Oh, this was old points. Just kidding. Yeah, that was pre-nerf. Yeah, this list is probably a bunch. Yeah, this list is like a ton of extra points, actually. Yep. All right, just kidding. I'm not that surprised. Sorry. Was this one new points? This one was new points. Good on Master of Executions for precision and devastating wounds. Yeah, that seems good for sure. Honestly, like, I don't know if there's a unit in the game that doesn't want the buff from the glaive. You could probably just point to every single unit. Still building your stuff. Not planning on running Angron. That's sad. Angron's so cool, but I understand. That dude just falls over to a stiff breeze. I played a game against the World Eaters recently on stream, and the dude died to... He engaged Gilliman, I think. Took one punch from Gilliman, took like a little bit of damage. He saved it all. And then 2 Desolators. I think it was 4 total Desolators shot their missiles into melee with him. 2 of them converted, and he just died. I was like, okay. Unnecessary, but thank you, team. You did great. All right, we'll continue our search here for Black Templars. Ultramarines, Lazy Votann, Tyranids, Grey Knights. Whoa, this was a hoppin' fucking event. Look at all these people. I recognize a lot of those names too. Man, people are just psyched about the data slate this week. There's so many games. Now more Necrons, what a shocker. More Astra Militarum going undefeated. We're running up against the wall here, chat. There, we found one. We got one, chat. Let's do it. This was new points, right? Valleycore 350, yeah. New points. New points. We found one. Costs 415 points, gets focused really hard. Yeah, I think the problem is that you almost want him to be focused, especially because like if you get extra Blessing of Corn dice, you have a pretty, from like extra icons, because I know there's a lot of lists running like multiple icons now. You have a pretty solid chance of rolling the 666s to get him back. And you almost want your opponent to overextend to kill him. The problem is that he just dies, I think, too quickly, right? Because like he's like 16 wounds. Like it doesn't go far enough at his defensive profile. Because he doesn't have a feel no pain. He has like no mortal wound protection. Dude just gets devastating wound off the table. I don't know. Orcs at a 40% win rate this weekend? Yeah, I mean, I guess where are you getting your stats from right now? Because a lot of times, I think there were 3 GTs that used new data slate. If you're looking at Orcs getting a 40% in all GTs this weekend, most of that's probably because they got shit on by Eldar. I don't know if there are many stats aggregators that take RTT results, which is where basically all of these are coming from. I wouldn't pay attention to win rates for another week or two, honestly. All right, let's look at this list, chat. A Castellan with 10 houses bones. High Marshal Halbrecht, an Emperor's Champion, Chaplain Grimaldus. A Crusader squad. One big one, the big 20 man. Let's go. A Repulsor Executioner. Double Repulsor Executioners. Holy crap. All right. Repulsor Executioners at 235. Ooh. Did they get a cut? They did. Because they used to be like 270, right? They were very expensive. 235 for Post Executioner. It's like kind of a good number. Oh yeah, there's the Primaris Sword Brethren chat. And a Stern Guard Veteran squad. That's a little one though, a little baby squad. So that goes in one of the Executioners. There's a little baby Primaris Sword Brethren squad for the other Repulsor Executioner, and then a tenor for one of the characters who goes into the Crusader. Or the Redeemer, excuse me. It's not a Crusader, it's a Redeemer. Redeemer has a like transport cap of 12? So let's double check here. Can we put Grimaldus in that thing? If it's 14, we can put Grimaldus in there. Redeemer. 14, it is! Let's go! So you can put Grimmy with the big unit. So he can like modal buff them with all of his cool little relics. And then you can put... I don't know where the other guys go. Oh, I guess somebody... Oh, he might go with the Crusader squad, honestly. Because he gives them Feel No Pain, right? Which is pretty good at a 20-man. I don't know if I have his data sheet downloaded. Yeah, multi-melt is free on stuff. Yeah, that's big. They don't have to pay 20 like stupid points for the stupid multi-melta guy. For the unit, you can like only play in Righteous Crusaders, basically. Oh no, you can play them in Gladius Task Force, and the funny thing is that you can double your like Force Org allowance, right? Because you could take 2x of any of the vehicles. It's just they used to cost extra points for no reason, but now it's just a nice upgrade, which is huge. Yeah, I kind of like this design. The big downside, I think, of Black Templars is that they kind of want to play Horde mode a lot, and they might get picked up by the anti-Horde mode team. But if you're rocking like 3 huge like T11 transports or T12 transports that are wandering around the table, that's like a tough front line to take out before you get the Sword Brethren all up in you. Sick. I like it. Plus, there's like a reasonable amount of shooting. Yeah, seems good. There's some RT2 list with 3 Redeemers. Let's go, dude. Just like triple Sword Brethren squads. Honestly, the Sword Brethren squad for 280 is like, they just hit so freaking hard. Like, that unit rocks at the new points level. Because they used to be like 34 points a model, right? And they were still playable. And now they're 28, and you're just like, windmill slam. Pull up their data sheet real quick. So here's Grimmy. You get hit rerolls, choose 5+ Feel No Pain, advance and charge, or +1 AP. God, those are good buffs. So honestly, 5+ Feel No Pain on the big Crusader squad is like probably what we're going for, I imagine. But I could be wrong. Helbrecht gives you critical 5s. But I guess you could also do the lethal, like critical 5s on lethal hits, which is pretty good. But if you're rerolling hits with Grimmy anyway, then you get double chances to lethal if you're in the lethal oath. And then the Crusader squad can just like really sort of pound in there. Plus it can't go in the transport, so advance and charge is really good. Yeah, I think you put Grimmy with the big squad. And then this Horde Brethren have a billion different attacks, but then they can all switch to +1 damage if they need to kill something huge. What a unit, chat. That's a real melee unit right there. Something that 10th edition hasn't seen for a long time. An actually good melee unit. Let's go. The Tannhausers gives the squad a 5+. Oh, yeah. I thought that was just the bearer, but yeah, you're right. That's sick. If they do the 6+ feel no pain oath. Do you do that one? I guess it depends on the matchup. If your opponent's really squishy and you don't need the extra damage to kill them, and you just like windmill slam that for sure. Yeah, if you're playing like Eldar and you're like, I don't really care about having lethal hits. But if you're up against Knights or something, the lethal hits is brutal. Because they never updated the Primaris Crusader team, right? So it's Astartes Chainswords, Rain only have 5 attacks still, yeah. So these guys have like just an absolute legit like ludicrous damage output in melee. Like unreasonably powerful damage output. This is probably one of the hardest hitting units in the game, by the way, chat. I think we matched out how much damage it did, and it was like 20 damage to a Land Raider or something. If you do lethal, and then you can do... You can like fish for lethals off of Grimaldus. Is there a... Oh yeah, and then you can do +1 AP for SCP. Yeah, that's the wombo combo. Is that all we can stack on them right now? Yeah. One Templar bow not active for your army. Starting next 2-man phase. Models gain the benefits of that bow in addition. Oh shit. Can we give them sustain? We can give them sustain 1, chat. Let's go. So the... Oh, I don't even know if I can math hammer this effectively, because it has explosions in it. So you can have a 20-man unit, assuming they haven't taken any damage, and you got everybody in melee, which to be fair is unlikely. But they have 100 melee attacks. Full rerolling, 6s explode and lethal, right? For 2 CP at AP2. On a unit that can advance and charge. Absolutely nutty. I guess, assuming that we're not doing the sustain, let's just math out the amount of damage. I guess we could just do it like raw, right? So 100 attacks. Ends up with 17 lethal hits. And then you just fish. So you reroll everything. Oh, you can give them additional +1 AP. I didn't even realize. You're probably advancing and charging. But if we're like doing the full wombo combo, you can make them AP3. So then you reroll 83 additional hits for another 14 lethals. So you average, fishing for 6s, you average like 30 automatic wounds at AP3. And then you get another like 40 regular hits. And this is assuming that you haven't oathed them. Those end up converting into another 7. So you get like 47 wounds at AP3 on someone on average. So if they're a 2+ save, they should take like 30 damage. You just can't let this unit touch you, by the way, chat. You'll die. You just have to kill it. You just have to make them go away.
Plague Surgeon actually bad like Reddit says, or is it low-key good?
Is the Plague Surgeon bad, or is it low-key good? Let's look at the Plague Surgeon real quick, chat. Generally speaking, if Reddit says something, like believing the opposite is like a pretty good guess. But I think the issue with the Plague Surgeon is simply opportunity cost. Yeah, so it gets a bodyguard back, and then it heals Death Guard infantry characters. This ability is like fucking worthless. It's so bad. It only... You don't have lone operatives that you take without units, generally, in the army. So it only works when your opponent has precision, and you've allowed them to attack your character with precision, and they haven't killed it. Which is, like, so niche, it's insane. If this was able to heal regular infantry or hero Mortarion, I think this guy would be auto-include absolutely every time. The downside is that you can only have 2 Fetid Virions inside a unit. So he's always fighting with the other ones, I think. I guess the other question is how many points he is right now, and the answer is... Surgeon is like 40, probably 65. Oh no, he is bad. Wait a minute. Biologus Future Fires went to 50. Tallyman went to 45. This guy's just give you like +1 to hit, right? Yeah, +1 to hit, just base, and you get a CP in your command phase. For 45 points. And this dude stayed at 65? No, yeah, he's like Garbo, unfortunately. Also, they reduced the cost of the units that he's regenerating. So he's also like he's like less efficient by extension. That's weird. What a weird decision to make. Yeah, I think you're just in the... You're in on the other, like, any of the other characters who are, like, way less expensive and also offensively oriented rather than wholly defensive. Because you don't really like the reanimation characters very much, because a lot of times your opponent's just going to kill the unit. Unless you have, like, a big 10-man that you can stack defensive buffs on, which unfortunately Death Guard don't have that many of. You're not guaranteed to have any models left at the end of the fight, and so that dude is just, like, not really helping you. And he's also taking up a slot and points that you could use to have a guy who makes your unit more effective at shooting. Yeah, it's only... If he could join to Terminators, I would say he's probably strong. But the fact that he's... like all the Fetid Varian stuff, he's also still locked to Plague Marines for some reason is a little bit frustrating. Just bring more Plague Marines? Yeah, that's also probably fine. I mean, the Tallyman's like... He's the cost of like 2.5 Plague Marines, and he gives you everybody +1 to hit and regenerate CP. I think this guy's actually like kind of nuts. Although this guy gives you lethals on 5s. That's also super good. Although he's more expensive. He's like 60, I think. These characters are like actually sweet. Plus he grenades for free. That's alright. That's okay. He shoots a 3 damage pistol for 3 inches. That's like kind of nuts also. He has hyper blight grenades. Not even just normal blight grenades. Hyper blight. What AP do we hit in the Black Templars thing? AP 3. So the average dice, if we spent only 1 strat and Grimaldus' abilities, is... what did we say? 47 wounds at AP 3 onto something you're winning on 6s. To toughness 8+. 47 wounds, that's all. 47. Yeah, I agree, chat. I mean, you can also have, like, you get a Plague Launcher and, like, the stupid Plasma Gun guys, right? But, yeah, it's still not amazing. Yeah, I guess the downside is that you're only affecting 10 sort of mediocre guys with the character rather than being able to affect a big cool brick. All right, chat. Well, that is going to be it for me today. Thanks, everyone, for coming and hanging out. Bit of a cool discussion. I'm going to have to reevaluate my take on Chaos Knights. Maybe it's like... Maybe we just, like, are seeing a little bit of a funky metagame thing, and it's just, like, a couple people doing well because it's a small... Like, they're smaller events and stuff. But, like, what are all these Chaos Knights doing here? 3-0. Maybe they're just really good Chaos Knights players. Ooh, also Blood Angels. That's cool. Blood Angels being mostly just regular Space Marines, but we have a Death Company squad? Oh, no, it's just literally regular Space Marines. This is a Blood Angels list, but it doesn't have any Blood Angels. Oh, no, there's 2 Death Company units. All right, that's fair. Yeah, that's basically what it is. Yeah, Death Company Gem Packs getting a points cut is pretty okay for them. I don't know if I rate Blood Angels. The downside is you have to... I think the Blood Angels units are good, but the issue is the opportunity cost with them, in my opinion. All right, chat. Well, thanks everybody for coming and hanging out with me. I appreciate you. I should have a tier list up for the new metagame pretty soon. I just recorded it earlier today, and we'll start editing it as soon as I can. But thanks for hanging out. I should probably be back live. I think I'll have some games back live on the Twitch on Thursday. I don't think I'm going to do it tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to stream tomorrow because I'm going to be working on videos. So please come hang out with me over there. Yeah, otherwise, thanks everybody. People starting to struggle with T10. Yeah, I could see that for sure. It's like a gatekeeper, right? There's also like Battleshock matters. I think Battleshock's becoming... It might be better, actually. Well, all right. Here's the thing I didn't consider. Maybe this is the Chaos Knights answer. You can't Insane Bravery after rolling your dice, right? So the thing that often happened with Chaos Knights is they would go, take 2 Battleshock checks, please, because you're below starting strength, and your opponent would go, pass the first one, fail the second one, Insane Bravery, and your army ability wouldn't do anything. Now, you're like, pass the first one, Insane Bravery? Nah, roll it, fail, you're fucked. Maybe that happens more often than I consider. Because that could potentially be a big point swing if it happens at a bad time. Where you're like, I lose the objective and then also, like, I can't get a secondary or something. Maybe I do have to reconsider my positioning of Chaos Knights. Huh. Well, they wanted Battleshock to matter and they succeeded, so good for them. All right, chat. I'll see you over on the Purple channel probably on Thursday. Thanks, everyone, for chilling with me. And I'm going to pop off. So cheers, everybody. Remember to keep it classy, folks. Have a good one. And I'll see you in the next one.